Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new video where today we're here finally back on Assetto Corsa Competizione. This time round, as I'm sure you're probably very much guessing, we're here in the GT4s. Yes, it's been a while since I last played ACC. I'll be honest, I really do want to get back into it, but obviously we've been focusing a lot on F1 and obviously a few other things like that with the main channel. But the new GT4 DLC very much was the calling card I needed to get back into AC. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be making a video on each of the new GT4 cars. I think there's 11 to play around with on ACC. We're just going to be giving sort of a 10-minute test drive and see how we get on. So it only made sense, you know, I didn't want to pick a favourite and dive into that first. We're just going to do it alphabetically. And we kick things off then with the Alpine. A very unexpected GT4 car for someone like myself. I didn't even know there was a GT4 Alpine, in all honesty. But it's here, and I guess we're going to give it a go. Let's just have a quick look then from behind. You can see, there we go. Based off the new A110. And I'll be honest, I'm a big fan of the Rogo version of this car. I really did sort of fall in love with it when it originally came out a couple of years ago. Now, unfortunately, I know it's had a lot of issues and everything like that. I think the only real place it was ever advertised was back on Top Gear, a new version of Top Gear. I think it was Chris Harris took it, obviously, to the south of France, as we have done so today, and unfortunately it blew up, which I think, you know, unfortunately didn't quite put it in a good light with a lot of people. But I mean, I always loved the original A110. It was a brilliant car. I'll be honest, it was helped slightly by just how overpowered it was. I think back on Forza Horizon 1, it was just a D-Class monster on that game, which... sorry, Forza Horizon 2, I should say. It was just a D-Class monster on that game. Hence why I sort of fell in love with it a bit more. You know, it helped, but it was an old-school rally car. You know, it's been on the original Dirt Rally and Dirt Rally 2.0. It's always the car I go with. You know, it's very weird, though, the original. Front-wheel drive, front engine, but you had a really long back end to the car, which always sort of surprised me, which meant it liked to get a bit loose and leery and was always sort of in battles with the Mini Cooper and the Fulvia back in the day. Now, unfortunately, the other two, as we massively overshoot there, thank God Paul Ricard's got a lot of runoff. Yeah, the other two always had their success stories. Unfortunately, the Alpine didn't quite get the same sort of luck. It's certainly obviously stuck in the history books, but not quite in the same sort of iconic level as the original Fulvia and the Mini Cooper. But yeah, maybe this can be a different story. Perhaps this can dominate GT4 just a little bit more. But yeah, really sort of feeling good coming back to this game. I do probably want to try and get into a league or two on here, whether I do it on Xbox or PlayStation as well, because I've got the game on those two consoles as well now. Obviously, you got to do this on PC though, because it's the only one that's got the GT4 DLC at the moment. Yeah, I would just like to jump in and finally get more racing done. I've done a couple of online races on this channel in the past. And again, they were brilliant fun. It's just trying to get into sort of getting on here every week. Perhaps I just need to join a proper league. Something like that as well down the line once I'm a bit more used to this title. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe all these GT4 cars will find ourselves a little GT4 league on that. Will give me the kick that I need to jump back into some more Assetto Corsa Competizione. But anyway, let's dive in then and talk about the car. Obviously, we don't know how it compares to any of the other GT4s because I haven't driven any of them yet. But obviously GT3s, we've driven them on some other sims and things like that before. For the most part, they very much just feel, all honesty to me, a bit too sloppy. Obviously, the balance of performance is why, obviously, they're all pretty even in that sort of sense. But I've always felt, especially, you know, my personal best examples I can probably give are the Cayman GT4 and the M4 GTS on iRacing. And obviously those cars just feel incredibly loose a lot of the time. Now, you don't quite get that feeling on Assetto Corsa just generally. I think that's why a lot of people do prefer the sim. A lot of the cars do feel a bit tighter and a bit more connected to the road, which certainly helps, I'll be honest. But GT4s, yeah, I've always felt a little bit loose, a little bit wallowy, in my personal opinion. And, I mean, you get that same feeling through this car. That's just sort of what you've got to expect from GT4s as we actually get through the end of the back straightaway there in one piece that time round without exploring Paul Ricard's safer track limits than most tracks around the world. But yeah, sounds quite good though. I'll give you guys a little bit of an audio track next time we get towards the back straightaway again. But overall, though, feels very, very planted. Feels very, very nice. Obviously, you have still got a lot less traction control because you just don't need it. Obviously, these things don't quite have the power to really light up the rear wheels consistently like you would from a GT3 car. But they feel... Obviously, you've got the ABS as well, which really does help out, I've noticed. You know, that's just so useful having a car like this. Obviously, GT4s as well are a little bit different to their GT3 counterparts in, obviously, the fact that you get a lot of different talented drivers racing them. Obviously, GT3 is like that as well, but GT4 is sort of more of a proving ground for the most part. So you've either got young up-and-comers that are trying to prove themselves on the GT world and want to be obviously drive with the factory teams and everything like that at Spa 24 and all that sort of thing, and maybe Le Mans down the line. And obviously then you've sort of got the older drivers that aren't quite able to keep up with the GT3 car at the end of the day. So settle into something with a little less power, you know, just a little bit calmer, a lot less aero as well, which obviously makes the racing on these things brilliantly close a lot of the time, because obviously without all the aero, they can battle each other a lot more. So it certainly does add its own extra element to GT racing. Obviously it's a brilliant addition to GT3. I'll need to try and find some multi-class leagues, obviously. Again, obviously I've done the Michelin Pilot Challenge over on iRacing. That is GT4s and TCR cars. They definitely need to do some GT4/GT3 racing. I think the only one I can think of was back at the start of the year. I attempted to do the Bathurst 2 hours over on Race Room in a GT3 car with a lot of GT4s actually in my split, which was again very, very good fun as well. So I've got a lot of love for GT4s, I feel like, despite having a few complaints about the way they drive, as that's as far out there as you can realistically explore. The Alpine though, as we get some horrible understeer there. Are my brakes working? Hello? Yeah, not too sure what that was all about. Perhaps we just got a little bit too over-optimistic in towards there. But yeah, now we're starting to get the tyres, you know, up to temperature, everything like that. The brakes are finally getting warm. You feel like you can start pushing it a bit more, and that's always the joy with these GT cars. You know, you can lean on the ABS and the traction control when you need to. Obviously, traction control not so much in this, but ABS you can always lean on, irrespective of the car there. Let's see. Like I said, I'll give you guys some audio. Let's see if we can go for one attacking lap around this Paul Ricard circuit. Way too optimistic into one, but that's alright. We're not going to worry about lap times here. And like I said, it's been probably about 6 weeks since I last played AC, so I was always going to be a bit rusty. So we were still approaching upwards of 250 Ks down at the back straightaway, so it's certainly no slouch in a straight line. 255 kph by the end of the Mistral straight there, as we try and make sure we actually get it slowed down this time round in towards the next corner. But yeah, this thing though, again, it's just about trying to get used to GT4s. Hopefully by the time we've finished all these, we'll be a GT4 expert and we'll be able to race them at last, because they are a brilliant, brilliant fun car. And I think sort of the GT3 hype we saw in sim racing, by all means, is certainly not dead, but a lot of people went GTEs because they had no ABS, which obviously, it did obviously increase the skill gap, everything like that. You know, you have the top drivers could get a lot more out of the cars then. But GT4 might be the new place to be, in all honesty, especially on the Assetto Corsa. You know, these cars are just so well done, and I mean, AC has sort of really found that sweet spot of, I think a lot of people were always sceptical when they announced a GT-only game. They were like, where's me mods? But they really, really knocked out the park with the original game. And I mean, this DLC, with 11 cars, you basically get a huge expansion what is already a brilliantly detailed game, and it doesn't feel like they've lost any of the quality. That was, I think, the big worry for me when they announced these cars. I was like, they better keep the same sort of quality that we've seen from the original GT3 cars, because if they don't, I'm sure they're going to upset a lot of people, because that's sort of what made AC so good. You got iRacing quality for an actual decent price, which only really you get in the occasional mods, and that's pretty much on R Factor or AC. But I think finally we're starting to see it a whole lot more now. iRacing is getting knocked off its perch, and if other sims can sort of captivate a series or something like that, they are definitely set to struggle in the future. But the Alpine, though, to kick us off, first car in this little sort of 10-minute test drive series, I'm a very, very big fan, I'll be honest. Hopefully it's set, you know, a good marker for the rest of the cars from this pack. You know, I'll be racing around different tracks, everything like that, so hopefully, you know, it'll be all a bit of good fun as well. But we're going to try and see if we can finish off this lap with a good time through the end of the Mistral Straight. Open up the track limits. You can get away with that still, which I think is quite cool, the fact that it does let you run a little bit wide there as long as you're back on the right-hand side of those cones on the exit. But yeah, you've got to try and use the short shift still. You don't want to lean on the traction control. Obviously, like I said, it doesn't really need it all too often. But, you know, you've still got to be careful that you just don't bog down the back end. Everything like that. You've still got to try and get the power out of it when you need it. But down towards the final couple of corners, we're almost a second up on my PB. Let's see if we can just keep it nice and tidy. And we've invalidated again. Pretends to be shocked as soon as I notice we make a mistake. But at the final corner, though, that is going to be our first little test drive of the new Alpine GT4 for Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's going to be a 2:08.1 in the end, so I'm sure still a good few seconds off the pace of some top people. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, do make sure you get yourself subscribed. And yeah, we will be back tomorrow, I think, in the Audi GT4 car. I'll see you guys then.